My name's Abigail, and you're listening to Absolutely Me.
Oh, hi there. How have you been? You been good? I've been doing really good. I have a really fun episode for you this week. There's some things that I feel like I just keep jumping into these topics. I feel like I should maybe do like a little bit of a catch up, how are you, get to know me kind of thing, at first before I really just like jump into it. But I've been doing good. I'm sorry I haven't been, I say this every time too, I'm sorry I haven't been uploading podcasts, but it's been a crazy couple of weeks. I'm getting over being really sick. I was down and out for literally 5 days. And so my voice still sounds a little bit funny, and I'm sorry, but I really just wanted to get this podcast recorded because it's been on my mind for a few weeks, and I've had an outline of this for a while, and I've really just been excited. So sorry I sound a little funny if I have to cough or anything during the middle. I'm sorry, but just bear with me. And I'm really excited to catch up with you guys, and really the past couple weeks, what have I been up to? I've been working, I've been sick, I've had lots of friends and family things. I went to Powder Mountain over Martin Luther King Jr. Day is in January, and then President's Day is in February. I went over Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend with my family to Powder Mountain Ski Resort, which is here in Utah. And my family has been going to Powder Mountain for since the earth began. We've been going for so long. And my grandpa has been on the board up there forever. My parents actually got engaged at Powder Mountain on New Year's Eve is when they got engaged. And it's so cute. My mom's told me this story, and she knew that my dad was going to propose because they'd been dating for a while, and they'd talked about it talked about the ring and stuff, but she didn't know when it was going to happen. And she kind of I think from what I remember, she had a feeling it was going to happen that weekend, but she wasn't totally sure. And she ended up finding the ring before my dad proposed to her and just stared at it, and then ended up getting proposed to that weekend. So it's pretty cute. I like that story, and my family really likes going up to Powder Mountain. And we go up to they have it's called Powder Ridge Village. They just have we call it the condo. And my parents have a timeshare up there, and my dad's whole side of the family, a bunch of people in our family have timeshares. So we've been going up to we call it the condo, like I said. We've been going up to the condo for all of eternity, and we go up there for Thanksgiving a lot and spend Thanksgiving up there. And it's just a really special place to our family, so I always love going up there. And we've had this tradition in my family of going up over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend for a few years now, and going and skiing. And when I was little, I was really good at skiing, but we couldn't afford for me to go skiing when I got a little bit older, 10, and then I just didn't ski for a long time. And then all of a sudden, when I went to college to SUU, right after I graduated from high school, and then through my mission, all of a sudden my siblings decided they wanted to start skiing and took ski lessons for a couple of years, and we're going skiing. So by the time I came back and was going skiing with them, they're all leaps and bounds ahead of me, and it's I'm learning again for the first time. But so all of my family is 20 million times better than I am, but it's just fun to go up and ski, and even if I only do it once a year, I really like it. And I feel if I had more dedication or time or energy, going more than once a year would probably be fun. But we went up and we ended up not being able to go skiing, which is such a bummer. It snowed too hard, and all the roads like up to the canyon, up to Powder Mountain were closed, and they had like avalanche warnings, and so we couldn't ski, and it was such a bummer because then like the day after we left for the weekend and like the resort opened back up, it was like the best skiing ever. So we had a good old adventure, and we got stranded one of the days away from half of our family and ended up going to this Mexican place that was really, really pretty good. And I was so excited because I saw they had sopapillas on the menu, and I really like sopapillas, and I really wanted some. And our server, I literally think she was like 14 years old, and she came over and she was like, what else? Like, you know, can I get you guys anything? And I was like, oh, can we get an order of sopapillas? And she just looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, in my head, I was like, am I saying that wrong? And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's sopapilla. And I like told her, and she was like, oh, we don't have those here. And then just like took our menus and left. And I was so confused and sad because it was on the menu, and she was like, yeah, we don't have those here, or like those, I don't even know what those are, like basically was like totally blew me off and went away. And then my brother's girlfriend like mentioned to the waiter, she was like, oh, well, like they're on the menu. And she was like, no, they're not on our menu, like we don't do those, and just like totally ignored us. And I was really sad because I really wanted the sopapillas. So if anybody knows a good place around Salt Lake City to go get a sopapilla, I'm down, and I'm looking for a good sopapilla hookup. So thank you. That's what's been going on the last couple weeks. It's been really a good time. Something I haven't really talked about on this podcast, I don't think, is the fact that I have been doing ketamine infusions for the past couple of months. And which people who know me like laugh when I tell them this, because a few months ago, I got like an official PTSD diagnosis, and I was like it kind of threw me for a loop, because I was like, oh, well, like I know that there's like some stuff going on with me, and I didn't really know how to describe it, but obviously it's PTSD. Like I told my boyfriend, like as soon as I came home, and I told my best friend, and they're both like, yeah, you have PTSD. Like that's, yeah, like obvious. And I was like, well, yeah, but like PTSD. Anyway, so it was this whole thing, and I've just been kind of struggling the last little while, the last year or so, just like with anxiety and PTSD. And so I've been looking for some other solutions, and I decided to try ketamine because I've heard really, really good things about it. I know some people who have tried it who have had like incredible experiences, and I just really have had a good time exploring that and like learning more about that, and kind of like being opened to the world of alternative medicine. And my boyfriend's been really good at like introducing me to these things. We have a lot of topics about like experimental things, and you know, like he's really into supplements, and he really likes learning about alternative medicine and like alternative methods, and it's been really interesting to me to learn more about that and like kind of have discussions about that, and like it's really opened my mind. And so I decided to do ketamine, and it's been super, super helpful to me so far, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm going to talk about on another episode, I think, more about PTSD and like what I've been experiencing and things that I've learned about PTSD and kind of just like what I've been going through. But I really have enjoyed ketamine. It's helped me a lot, and I did 6 weeks in a row. I went every week and did an infusion. And if you don't know what ketamine is, it's a hallucinogen. a hallucinogenic drug. And so when you take it, you are like completely disassociated from yourself, and you're like seeing visuals and like completely out of body. You like totally forget who you are, or like what your name is, or like what's going on. And it's really difficult to describe like what actually happens when you take ketamine if you haven't taken ketamine, but it just honestly feels like you're zooming out of yourself, but also, and I'm probably going to sound crazy to people when I'm trying to explain this, if you really haven't ever done anything like this, because you don't really know what it's like. It's hard to explain, but it's like you're completely zoomed out of yourself, where you're like disassociated from yourself, but you're also like right down in your cells, like looking at all the different aspects of your body and your brain and like your thoughts and your consciousness. You're like kind of weeding through all your internal stuff, like your thoughts and your feelings and your experiences and your emotions. And ketamine actually creates new neural pathways in your brain, and it can create, like, it can heal pathways. And so it helps a lot with like depression. It helps a lot with PTSD, with kind of reframing some experiences, and it helps like move emotions out of your body and help you fully like process things. And there's always a takeaway when you do ketamine. At the end, I remember after this one experience, I was sobbing, like just completely sobbing, and was just like, the whole recurring thought in my brain was everything is okay. And that sounds like really silly, that was like, it made me so emotional, but there was just so much anxiety in my body at that time before I did that ketamine infusion. And kind of when you go into ketamine to do a treatment, they want you to have kind of a intention or something that you're meditating on when you go into ketamine, just so you could have more of like a guided experience, and it's can be more like meaningful and impactful. And so I was just looking for, I said my intention is just peace. And so coming out on the other end of ketamine and just having felt that whole time, like going through it, I was feeling all these emotions, all these anxieties that I had been thinking about, like they would come to the surface, and I would like feel it and experience it and look at it, and on the other side of my head, it's like I said, it's like kind of watching this, you're like disassociated from it. The logical and peaceful and like grounded part of my brain was like, no, these thoughts are not real. Like, this is not how I feel. This is not what I want. This is like not what is going on. And that feeling would kind of go away. And that happened for a few things. Like I said, that I was feeling really anxious about, having a lot of like anxious thoughts around and just kind of like ruminating on. And then, so I had all this, it was almost fearful. It was like I was feeling that anxiety as I'm tripping, and like you're seeing all these visuals, and these visuals like create these feelings inside of you, and you're like I said, your eyes are closed, you're in a dark room, you're like totally disassociated, like you're full on tripping, don't even know where you are or what you're doing, but you have these like conscious, logical thoughts and feelings and emotions that are going on. And then I get to the end of this treatment, and I just felt so at peace and just so comforted, and so like I've never felt anything like that before ever in my entire life, like that level of just like peace and stillness and calmness come from within myself, which is also what's so amazing about ketamine, is it's all you, and it's kind of like your higher self like going through and giving you these thoughts and these feelings and helping you, kind of guiding you through ketamine. And coming out on the other side of that and feeling from myself like everything is okay. I remember one of the like nurses came and was talking to you, and oftentimes after you do a ketamine treatment, somebody will kind of come and talk to you and write down some of the things that you say. So right when you're coming out of ketamine, everything's like really crisp and you're able to remember a lot of the things that happened. And so this guy is coming in and talking to me, and I just told him, I was like, yeah, everything is okay, like, and I just started sobbing as I'm telling him this, and I'm like trying to text my boyfriend, telling him to like come in and come get me, and like just feeling so emotional. And we left the doctor's office, and I'm just like crying, and I was like, I feel so good, like I feel so amazing, and everybody should do ketamine. That's kept being what I told Mitch. I was like, everybody should do ketamine, it's so amazing, it just like I feel so good, everything's okay. And I just cried and cried and cried and cried because I was just so peaceful and so excited and so happy. And you get a lot of crazy thoughts while you're on ketamine, and because you're just totally high, and even you're only under for about an hour, sometimes even less, when you get the shot, and you're under like a minute and a half later, you're just like completely gone. And then you're under for about an hour, and then you come back, and then you're pretty sensitive most of the rest of the day. But within like an hour after you do the treatment, you're like kind of back to normal. And when you first wake up, you're pretty dizzy. You have to like take an anti-nausea medicine before you go under. And then you have like you have to have somebody drive you home, and you're kind of wobbly. And I have been getting kind of intense migraines sometimes after I've done some ketamine appointments, just because your body's like, it like really takes a toll on your body. And you just kind of come home and like get in your cozy clothes and watch like Disney movies and take a nap and just like cuddle and be pretty gentle to yourself the rest of the day, because your brain, I like to say my brain is mushy, and it's very just like, it's like transformed. So there's been a lot of thoughts that I've had, and a lot of, I call them my high thoughts, and I just wanted to share this was really the topic of this whole podcast episode, was these high thoughts, and not about ketamine, but I just had to kind of give you the background of like doing ketamine treatments. And I'm absolutely not an expert at it. Like I said, I've only been doing it for a couple of months, and I am going to be doing it more like coming up. You can do as many or as little treatments basically as you want. Like the doctor recommends going forward doing like once a month just for maintenance. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll let you guys know more about that. But I just wanted to share some of my high thoughts that I've had. And going through these and reading them is really funny, because I write them down like when I'm not, when I'm like in the moment. And I've really like gone back and read all of these, and they're really, really funny. So I'm excited, and I hope you guys get a laugh out of these. The first one that I wrote down, it says, well, actually, first it said I am not shit, but it was supposed to say I am hot shit. And so when I first read it, I was like, I'm not shit. I was like, that's like the opposite of what I feel usually. But it says I'm hot shit, like really hot shit. I should really act like it. And I just remember I was like looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, wow, I'm like really hot. And it's not often I feel that way. And so I was like, I'm like really hot. I should like really act like it. And be more confident in myself. And so that was like kind of a fun little realization. And this is not me fishing for compliments either or anything. This is literally what I wrote down. Another one that I wrote down is, and this one's not as funny. It's a little more tragic. But I wrote, why do I spiral into worst case scenarios? What causes me to do that? How can I fix that? Talk to Tracy about this. And Tracy is my therapist. Shout out Tracy. She's my bestie. But I have this, and it's a lot of it is trauma, a lot of it's anxiety, a lot of it's PTSD, and just all the things wrapped up, and something I'm working really hard on. But I just spiral to worst case scenario so often, and it's not even funny. I get so anxious. I like to hurt my own feelings, like stay up and hurt my own feelings at night and just convince myself of these scenarios that are not happening or that are not going to happen, and just get like super upset and in my head and anxious about it. And it's just not good. Like one example that is so, it's so perfect to explain this. I just get really anxious, like, talking about things, especially in my relationship, if it has any sort of, like, vulnerability or, like, risk, or if it's, like, in a negative context at all. In my head, I, like, get really anxious and, like, really worked up about talking about it, and I, like, really go to worst case scenario in my head. I'm like, oh, well, if I, bring this up, it's just gonna spiral, like we're gonna break up and things are gonna go really terribly, which is not good, and I know that. But I remember over the summer last year, like I was like in a therapy session, again, shout out Tracy, and we were just talking about, like, me and my boyfriend were coming up on like our 1-year anniversary of dating, and we were just kind of talking about that and how, like, that's kind of a big milestone, and like there's things that I should think about, like, moving forward with our relationship, like getting more serious and like thinking about like the future and like where things are going and seeing if we're like on the same page about that. And my therapist told me that I should really bring it up with my boyfriend, because I was feeling like, oh, I don't know, like, this seems like I should probably talk about this. Like, oh, where is this going? Are we, like, being intentional about this? Do we feel like this is going in the same direction? Or, like, if not, we're just, like, wasting our time. And I fully convinced myself that I was going to bring that conversation up. And I convinced myself that my boyfriend was going to be like, yeah, no, I don't see this going anywhere. Like, I don't even like you that much. I think we should break up. And, like, fully convinced myself that that was where the relationship was heading. And and so I was so anxious to talk to Mitch about this, because I didn't want us to, like, to have this conversation and then break up. So I, like, was so anxious about it. But it's like, I have to do it, because I'm just keeping myself up at night, like, thinking that this is where what's going to happen when we have this conversation, and I just need to hurry and have the conversation. And so I finally remember bringing it up to Mitch and talking to him about it. And it was just, like, so chill and so easy. And it was like, oh, yeah, like, yeah, I think things are going good. And, like, this is going in a good direction. And, like, I feel really good about things. And I was like, oh, okay. Sweet. I do too. Let's keep going. And that was it. Like, that was a conversation. It was really good. It was, like, not scary when we were having the conversation. It was so chill and, like, yeah, we're on the same page. And I was like, perfect. And I've gotten a lot better since then, but there's still a ton of anxiety. And so I've had a lot of thoughts around that. And so a lot of my thoughts that I've written down on here, I'm realizing actually too, are a lot like that. Some of them are, like, really weird. I was debating telling you guys this one or not, but it's so funny. I have to tell you. It says, how often is it normal to feel horny? And I was like, I don't know how often it is normal to feel that way, or, like, is it too much? Is it too little? Like, I don't know. And so I wrote that down, and it just making me laugh really hard. I put, how do I practice conflict conversation skills? And that I still don't know, other than just, like, actually having conflict conversations. And And also it says conflict does not mean the end of the world. It does not. How do I deal with this wound? So I'm gonna have to be figuring that out. As you can see, some of the ketamine thoughts too, some of these high thoughts are inspirational. They're not just like dumb and, you know, have no meaning other than this one that I wrote down. I love Harry Potter. I listen to it like every single day when I go to sleep. I just cycle through the books. And, like, I've listened to it so many times that it, like, doesn't matter to my brain. It just is like white noise. It completely shuts my brain down and I can fall asleep. And I just, like, set a little, like, sleep timer on my phone for, like, 30 minutes. And I'm asleep in, like, 5 or 10 minutes. Like, it doesn't even need to be 30 minutes long, but it just is. And I just fall asleep. And then the next night, I just pick up where I left off the night before, and it's perfect. And so I love Harry Potter. Harry Potter's always on my mind. And I was listening to the Order of the Phoenix, which is the 5th Harry Potter book, and I'm not going to take the time to explain all of Harry Potter to you. If you haven't seen Harry Potter, if you haven't listened to it, like, go and listen to it. I'll I'll let you do that. But he lives with his aunt and uncle and cousin, and their last name is Dursley, and they're non-magical people, and Harry Potter is a magical person. He has magic, and he is, like, watching the news. He's, like, trying to watch the news that his, like, the regular non-magical people news to see if there's any updates on, like, evil things that were happening, because he thought that would be an indication that the Lord Voldemort was, like, doing evil things in the world, and he, like, wanted to be informed on what was happening. But the Dursleys, like, didn't understand, like, why he was trying to watch it, and they were like, no, nothing's wrong, and Harry Potter kept being like, no, there is something wrong, there's, like, and these are the thoughts that are going on in my head. And so I wrote, Harry Potter is like ex-Mormons, and Dursleys are like active members. Ex-Mormons, like, trying to point out issues with the Mormon church, and active members just being like, no, there's nothing wrong. And that just, like, it kind of made me laugh. I was like, that is the most high thought I've ever heard in the whole world. It made me laugh pretty hard. I wrote down, I hate social media so much, but I cannot stop looking at it. And I didn't put watching / I just put, I cannot stop looking at it. And I think this has become kind of an issue for me, especially because I was sick for 5 days. I couldn't even really get out of bed, and I would sleep. I slept for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. I slept all night, and then I'd wake up for like an hour or two, and then I'd sleep for like 3 hours. I'd be awake for like 2 hours, fall asleep for 3 hours, be awake for 2 hours, go to bed, and sleep through the rest of the night. It was crazy. Like, so I watched a lot of Vampire Diaries, and I scrolled through a lot of social media, and I'm just realizing, like, it's so bad for me. It's so bad for my brain. Like, it just totally numbs me out and, like, disassociates me and from the world, and it just does doom scrolling. It's getting too much. It's getting too much, and I really need to get that under control. But it's hard. I just, like, keep looking at it. For why, I don't know, but I just do. Another one that I wrote down that doesn't really make sense, but it's kind of funny. It says, it's not that I had to do bad things like move Justin's car when he didn't care enough to not park in my roommate's spots or care that I would get in trouble. And I know that thought doesn't really make sense, but I think it was just like a memory that was surfacing for me of a time with my ex-husband when we were dating, where he would come and visit me in Utah, and I was living in a house in Salt Lake, in Sugar House, and I lived in the basement, and, like, we had two girls that lived upstairs and then me and another girl who lived downstairs, and we had like assigned parking spots, and he would just come and like park his car wherever, and he didn't care, and I would have to go out and like move it for him in the mornings because I didn't know he parked there. He was just such an asshole and an idiot. Anyways, that was just some thoughts coming up, processing the feelings, processing the emotions of the moment, and then like letting it go. And that's just like part of the process. Another thought that I had was, and this was towards the end, this is why I did this. The thought was that this should be on the podcast. As I was writing these thoughts down, I was like, this should be a podcast episode. Like, this is really, really funny. And so you're welcome. Another one that I wrote down was, does anyone else just become so overstimulated that you become disconnected from your body, or is that just me? And I remember this came after a time of, I like came home from work one day, and it was a really long day, and I was helping with a public board meeting, and those are usually the hardest days of work for me because it's just sitting in these meetings, these public policy meetings for like hours and hours and hours, and staring at a screen and taking notes and like being in charge of running the meeting, and just coming home and feeling so exhausted. And I remember this last time that I came home, I was so tired and so overstimulated that I literally just got in my car and I like put my hands on the steering wheel, and I was just sitting there like bug-eyed and just so overwhelmed. I felt like completely out of my body, and I just sat in silence in my car for like an hour as I was driving, and just totally overwhelmed, and just like my brain hurt, and I was like in this fog and like wasn't even connected into my body at all, and it was pretty intense. I was pretty disassociated. And then afterwards, I like went to dinner with my best friend, and we like went to Texas Roadhouse and got food, and we're like talking and laughing and catching up. And I remember feeling like coming back into my body, and by the time I went home, I felt so much better. And I was like, another thought I wrote down like afterwards was, okay, I need some better decompression activities than coming home and scrolling through my phone. But I don't know like what else to do. Like that was a quick fix. That was really good and really fun. And I was like, okay, well, I need to have some social interaction. That's maybe probably why I feel like I want to scroll through my phone, because I want to feel like I'm having like social interaction. I'm an extrovert, so social interaction really like refuels me. But I don't know. I need to come up with some decompression things that are not scrolling on social media. So if you have ideas, send them my way, please. And not anything like go on a run, because I'm not doing that after a long day of work. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Oh, this one was funny. I've been being targeted on social media by like people who call themselves like homesteaders. And I had this really intense thought that I was going to start making everything from scratch, and I was going to like order beef and order chicken and stuff like right from a farm, and I was going to grow all my own vegetables, and I'm going to like make my own cookie mix and like spice mix and bread and tortillas and all these things, which I do still kind of want to do. Like, it's really drawing me towards it, but I wrote down that I want to be a homesteader kind of, but not like a trad wife, which is another thing that's like a kind of a I don't know, phase. It's like trending thing on Instagram and TikTok of people like trad wives who are like 1950s wives, and are like, oh, like we have to like submit to our husbands and, you know, to do all these things, and like a 1950s little perfect housewife. And I'm like, I don't want to be, that's like not what I want to be. I don't want to be that. But I would like to be more conscious of what I'm putting in my body and maybe like, making some things at home. And I think that would be not the worst thing in the entire world. And so that was a really funny thought that I had. That I also wrote, like, in addition to that this will be hard moving forward, thinking I know what I need to be doing. Because I have this tendency to, like, be in my, like, an all or nothing person in my head, where if I'm not doing everything exactly perfectly, and I know I'm not, I, like, get really overwhelmed, and, like, I'm really, really, really hard on myself. And so I was like, okay, well, how do I not be hard on myself for feeling like, oh, the food I'm putting into my body is garbage, I should be, like, making food at home. And on the other side, just, like, giving myself grace, I need to figure out how to balance that and not be so all or nothing. And I'm not really sure how to do that. And these are all things I'm working on, and all things ketamine, and these high thoughts that are helping me, work through these things. And the last thing that I have to share with you guys that I wrote down was, what do I have to do to feel less anxious? What are cures for PTSD moments? Is it a mental thing I can accomplish, or do I just need to, like, work out more? And because I was, in the midst of kind of feeling overwhelmed, and in some of these sessions, like, a lot of the things I've been meditating on is, like, release of trauma and, like, bad experiences and bad moments that I've had. And that's been a focus of mine in, like, a lot of these ketamine sessions. And so some of the thoughts I've had are, like, how do I, like, work through these, like, PTSD moments if I'm, like, having a flashback, or if I'm, like, feeling really anxious, or if I can feel myself spiraling, like, what are specific tools and things that I can use to get through that? And I'm still trying to figure that out. And this is something I've talked to my therapist about a lot, and we've talked about a lot and worked through. And I do have some skills, and some tools that she teaches me, and we've talked about, that have helped me. One thing that's really helped me is that I do quite a lot is if I'm having anxious thoughts, or if I'm having any sort of, like, really intense emotion, I put my hand on my heart, on my chest, and I just, like, think in my head, like, okay, I'm feeling this feeling, or feeling this emotion, and just kind of let myself feel it. And then, like, I can kind of talk myself down from there. And another thing that I've been doing that's really good is just, like, making lists and journaling. And that is super helpful if I, like, journal. I hate that journaling works, but it's like, honestly been one of the things that's helped me more than almost anything is journaling. And just, like, writing it out and, like, doing a brain dump of all my thoughts and feelings. That's been another thing that's helped really a lot. So I'm just trying to think of more ways to do that, and not, like, everyone's like, oh, just, like, exercise, it'll make you less anxious. And yeah, yes, that's true, but also it's, like, so much more than just, like, oh, I'm anxious. It's just, like, this other layer of this PTSD on top of that. So I'm learning how to manage that, and I'm trying to find tools to do that. And I'm, like, really committed to working through that. So if you guys have any thoughts or suggestions, again, DM them to me, send them my way. I, like, would love to hear it. And just these are all the thoughts I'm having. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my talk about ketamine and kind of my experience and some of the wild thoughts that I've had. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.